As a wildlife photographer, I've been able to travel all over the world and I've seen some pretty amazing sights and some incredible animals. But I've also grown up in a city, so urban wildlife has become a bit of a passion of mine. I love being able to show people just what is on their doorstep and that they don't have to travel thousands of miles to see some pretty incredible wildlife. Some animals have moved into the city after we've built them, other animals were already there. One of those animals that has moved in is the Peregrine Falcon, and they're in cities all across the world: Amsterdam, Prague, London, New York and Chicago. These peregrines that I started photographing I actually found on Instagram of all places. The condo owner posted a few pictures and they came up on my newsfeed. And when I saw them I was kind of shocked. I didn't really know what I was seeing. Obviously it was a peregrine falcon, but I didn't know the story behind it. So I skimmed through a few more of his pictures and then I thought, I've got to send this guy an email. So a few emails later, and Daisy, the condo owner, turned out to be an absolutely awesome guy who was the landlord for these peregrines that decided to choose his balcony to nest on. Chicago is a bit of a stronghold for peregrines. It's got a lot of high-rise buildings. It's also one of America's biggest kind of migration flyways on the lakeshore. So you've got tons of birds coming through twice a year. It's like a constant drive-through. They lay their eggs, obviously, as the migration's beginning, so while the adults are brooding, they can constantly feed, and then the chicks hatch and there's still a few migratory birds around, along with pigeons and stuff. So it makes sense that Chicago is the place for peregrines, and all of these skyscrapers are cliffs in a peregrine's eyes. There's no one else nesting on them, and they're the perfect territories. To cut a long story short, I booked my flight and I came out in time for hatching. There were 4 eggs originally, and basically the peregrines were very human tolerant. They chose to nest on someone's balcony. It's not really surprising, but it was surprising just how human tolerant they were. We could almost stand out here on the balcony and they wouldn't care at all. It's pretty incredible and a very surreal feeling to be stood 6 foot away, or probably less than 6 foot away, from a wild female peregrine falcon feeding her 3 young chicks on the nest. And it just goes to show how human tolerant these birds have become, living in a city. They see humans every day and they're just happy to make their home here. With the access I had to the birds, I was able to document everything that occurred, and sometimes in extreme detail, but it wasn't always easy to get the shots.
It's just to show everybody how you can't really lean much further out, just in case.
But the shots I was getting were completely worth it. Chicago has probably one of the most stunning city skylines in the world, and the peregrines had decided to nest with it as a backdrop, so I made the most of this at night. Alongside all the natural shots of the peregrines though, I was able to get a human element to the story. I worked with the Chicago Peregrine Project and was able to attend the banding of the chicks. It was amazing to see these birds that I had seen hatch and be growing up, be taken into the living room of the condo to be banded so they could be identified in years to come. It's incredibly important work, and I was able to get it all on camera, including putting them back out, which the parents weren't too happy about. Being on site all the time also meant I was able to witness some quite momentous occasions, including when the chicks decided to leave the flower box and explore the wider surrounds of the balcony. With the chicks doubling in size almost every day, it wasn't long before they fledged, and I was there to document that to complete the project. I managed to capture them flying over the streets of Chicago, play fighting with one another, harassing their parents for food, perching on the surrounding buildings, and just learning day by day how to become real-life peregrine falcons. So I knew the project was quite unique, and I knew, or at least I hoped I knew, that people would kind of latch onto it and it would get published relatively easily. So whilst in Chicago I started emailing people, so people like The Guardian really got on board and they ran a fantastic diary that got thousands and thousands of shares, and I got loads of nice emails and comments from people. And I mean, the main thing for me was that people were seeing this conservation success story, and a lot of people, yes, people in wildlife might know about urban peregrines, but a lot of people don't know about them, so to them this was completely new, and the fact it was on someone's condo balcony was completely kind of crazy, even to me, so even wildlife people were amazed. So The Guardian, they were on board. The National Audubon Society, they also ran a brilliant story which as I record this, is still reaching thousands and thousands of people. I think it had about 25,000 likes on Facebook, thousands of shares, and I'm getting an email an hour almost, sometimes more, from people seeing it, saying how impressed they are and what they'd like an image. The magazine for the Royal Geographical Society, called Geographical, have run double-page spread with a short story on the peregrines. BBC Wildlife magazine, which is probably my favourite wildlife magazine, probably in the top 5 wildlife magazines in the whole world. It's kind of the creme de la creme to get the front cover. And when I got an email telling me that one of my images had been chosen as the front cover, and saw Linda, the female peregrine, kind of bursting out the page, and again seeing the tweets, all the feedback on social media, the favourites, everything. I mean, that's not why I take the pictures, but it is brilliant to kind of get this feedback and see people enjoying it. If people didn't enjoy my images, I'd almost put my camera down and never take a picture again. I mean, this is just the beginning. I finished the project a month ago and stuff's already coming out. I've signed a contract with a publishing company in Canada called Firefly Books to do a children's educational book, which that is probably one of the most important things for me from the project, an educational book for children. And one of the main reasons I take pictures is so it can get out to people and people can learn. And if that book gets sold however many times, and 10% of the children that read it might suddenly turn into ornithologists or scientists or zoologists and make a big difference. So not only was I promoting these incredible birds that have come back from the brink of extinction in Illinois, also other animals in the future could be saved from extinction simply because of this project.